Proclaiming the truth and speaking out against injustice may be biblical imperatives, but truth-tellers in each generation sometimes pay the price for their prophetic words. And for our guest today on Faith Focus, the price was 19 years of his life spent in Chinese labor camps. Coming up next, an interview with human rights activist Harry Wu.
Welcome to Faith Focus with your host, Renee Hoke.
Good morning and welcome again to Faith Focus. We're glad to have you with us every Sunday morning, and especially this morning because of a very distinguished guest we have with us. In many ways, he can be considered a prophet of our times. His name may be familiar to many of you. Perhaps you have read his autobiography, Bitter Winds. But let me give you a little background about this remarkable man and his remarkable life. Harry Wu was a college student in Beijing when he was first arrested for speaking out against the Soviet invasion of Hungary and for criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. In 1960, he was branded a counter-revolutionary, and for the next 19 years, Dr. Wu was a prisoner in 12 different labor camps around China. He was finally released in 1979, and a few years later accepted a visiting professor assignment at the University of California at Berkeley. He then began to record his experiences through his writings and to share his experiences through testimony in government hearings around the world. It is my great honor to welcome Dr. Harry Wu to Faith Focus this morning.
My pleasure.
So wonderful to have you with us.
Well, I'm very happy to be here to share with you.
Quite an honor. Tell us a little about your childhood.
My childhood is born in a very wealthy family. That's the problem, because the Communist Revolution don't like that. I have two problems. One is I was a Catholic. Second, I was come from the bourgeois class. So when I'm 20 years old, in my class, I invited by the party to speak out. I criticized the invasion of Hungary. I right away labeled as a counter-revolutionary rightist. So later, I was sent to labor camps. You know who designed for that? Who handled the policy? Deng Xiaoping. That's 40 years ago. He's in charge. He caused 1 million Chinese intellectuals, including me, to the suffering, to the horrible situation.
Now, when you were arrested, was the climate, there was some reform going on in China, correct? Was there some ability at least to begin to speak out, and then that worked against you because you did?
Since 1949, the communists come to the power. First of all, they persecuted landlaw elements, and then persecuted all these religious. So Catholic, Christian, totally destroyed in the early 1950s. So 1957, there's another political movement persecuted Chinese intellectuals. I was one of them. And then I sent him to Laogai camp, in these labor camps, and spent the next almost 2 decades. I went over there 23. I leave the camp 42 years old.
How did that change you?
No, not fundamentally change.
Did you ever wonder if you were going to survive the labor camps?
I'll be honest with you, there's no hero can survive from Chinese labor camp. Because you have to know, when you get in the camp the first day, they have to ask you, why you come over here? You have to admit your crime. You have to make a confession. You have to forget about religious, forget about political viewpoints. Because they sentence you to life, whatever, 10 years or 15 years, they say, we are helping you become a new socialist person. So Hitler have a slogan, labor makes freedom. Chinese communists have the similar slogan, labor makes new life. Subject to slave labor, subject to thought reform, brainwashing.
Now, they didn't manage to reform your thought in all those years, did they?
I'll be honest with you, many years I want to accept the reform.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I reduced myself as a beast, as an animal. That's the way to survive.
What kinds of labor were you forced to perform? What kinds of things did you do?
All kinds of labor. I was in a coal mine, as a chemical factory, as a brick factory. According to Chinese law, each individual camp had 2 different names. As a prison, in the judiciary system, they call this a prison. Number 3, number 4 prison. and also have a public name, enterprises name. Chemical factory, steel pipe factory, rubber shoes manufacturing, or a farm, a coal mine. And it is true, because all these prisoners were forced to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day and make products. And the product is qualified to export. Yes, they export to the United States. Chinese government just make announcement there's a 200 different kind industrial agricultural products qualified to ship to all of the world, make money. This is a political profit center, also economic profit center for this government.
In the time that you were involved in all these different kinds of labor, you were watching people, other prisoners die all around you, right?
Yeah, almost. I commit suicide because they put me in the solitary confinement made by cement. Actually, it's cement coffin, only 3 feet wide, 6 feet long, 3 feet height. No food at the first beginning 3 days. And I was tortured. I always starved to death. I only have 80 pounds. About 4 months, I cannot stand on my own feet. I'm looking for rats and frogs and all kind of things in the field. Just like an animal. You never can treat yourself as a human being. If you treat yourself as a human being and you were thinking about, how about my dignity? How about freedom? How about my future? How about my family? How about my sex, my love, my business? Never come to you. Only cause suffering. If you reduce yourself as a beast, that's the way you survive, because you're only looking for food. There's no standard, no principle, no minority. And that's the way to survive. I was in that circumstance many, many years.
Was there any point during that time when you were just trying to survive that your faith, that your background in Catholic schools, I mean, did any of that come to help you at that time, or did you really lose even?
It's a complicated. I do some pray, secretly pray for myself, pray for some other inmates. But I feel kind of disappointed and angry. I said, God, you told me you're universal. And where are you now? We're innocent. We're suffering. Why you don't help us? It's a kind of hopeless, a kind of a totally disappointing situation. Absolutely there's no hope. You know, human beings are very surprised, very, very interesting things. They're always leading by some light. It means hope. If there's totally no light, I was sentenced to life, to the jail. I know I'm finished.
No hope.
No hope. But I want to create the lights, imagine lights to support my life. If I realize that, don't joke yourself, there's no way. And then you peacefully, silently want to end your life, commit your suicide. I saw many inmates. I did. I didn't succeed. Some people succeed, finished. So I want to emphasize one thing. You just mentioned that I am a significant man. I'm sorry, I'm not a hero. I'm not. I'm just a survivor.
Survivor.
As a witness. Today, many people learn the name Harry Wu. The name for an individual person, for me, mean nothing. I can finish in many occasions in my life in the 19 years. If I finished, you never have the name of Harry Wu. Who is Harry Wu? Millions of people today become nameless, faceless, voiceless. The same as me, as a human beings.
But you have the voice now for them as well.
So the name Harry Wu is deserved from these millions
for those people.
Innocent.
Let's get back and we'll talk about your message. Stay with us.
Thank you.